What's up, guys? Welcome to your 116th Android tutorial for the new Boston. And our SQLite database project's coming along quite nicely. We're just going to add another method to it because in the last tutorial we allowed our database to be open and able to write to it. So we also want to be able to close our database because we don't want it to remain open for the most part. So we're just going to create another method called public, and it's going to be void, and we're just going to call this close. Pretty simple little method here. All we're going to do is we're going to refer to our database helper and close that. So we're just going to say our helper dot close, and that's going to close again our basically our class right here, our database helper, or SQLite open helper is what it's actually closing. So that's pretty simple. Now let's see what we want our application to do. So we're going to switch over to our SQLite example class. And again, you guys hopefully set up all this stuff already, basically referring back to our SQLite example XML and just all the references and all that good stuff. So basically what we're going to have is the person's going to enter some information for the edit text and then hit the update button. And within this update button, what we're going to do is we're going to just set up two strings. So string name equals basically our SQL name, which is our edit text, get text, and toString. Oops. So nothing new there, and we're also going to set up, the attractiveness or the hotness. So we're just going to say hotness here, and refer to our other edit text, which is our edit text hotness. And now what we can do is we can refer to our hot or not class, so we're going to set up a variable from our hot or not class. And we're just going to call this entry. And again, we're just going to say new hot or not, and we're going to pass in the context of this class, or you can even say SQLite example dot this. So now what we can do is we can just open basically our entry because we just set up that open method, and there we go, and we can also close that entry. And now what we want to do is we want to be able to write some information to our database, which is what we're going to work on in the next tutorial or two. But again, what we're going to actually do is we want to pass in both strings so we can actually set up our method right now. We can just make it up. So we're going to say entry, and then we're going to say create entry, something like that. And it's going to give us an error because we haven't set up this method. But what we want to add to this method, we want two parameters because we want the information from this class. So we're going to pass in both string names. We're going to give the first parameter the name and the second parameter the hotness. So again, we're passing in two strings, so we want to make sure this method has access to both of those strings that are being passed in. So now what we can do is we can hover over and we just say create method entry string in the type hot or not. So we're just going to click that, and as you can see, it creates this entry, or this method here called create entry, which we're actually going to program in the next tutorial. But quickly, let's just talk about everything that's happening so you guys kind of understand more of what's going on. When we hit our update button, it's going to basically get the text from both of our edit texts, set it up to a string variable. Then we're going to create a new instance of our hot or not class, which we pass in the context of this. So what's going to happen is it's going to shoot over to our hot or not class. It's going to look for that constructor here, and it's going to see that we're passing in a context. We're going to set it up basically the context that's being passed into a private variable that's only available in this class. Then what's going to happen is we call that open method, which is going to basically set up our helper, and we're going to create a new helper with the context again that's being passed into this class. We're going to pass in that context for a new helper object, and so that's going to be passed up here, where again we just set up from our database name, the version, all that stuff, and basically set up our database if it hasn't been created yet, or if it has been created, it's going to drop it and recreate it or upgrade it. And then what we do is we have this method called create entry within our other class that we call, where we're actually going to write to our database, and then we just close our database or close our helper variable that we created again here within our open method. So hopefully you guys kind of understand what's going on now, and again in the next tutorial we're going to actually write to our database. So have a good one, guys, and I'll see you then.